So when I was young, there was a cartoon on TV called The Jetsons, and I watched it every episode I could. I thought it was fascinating because it took place in the future. And in the future, in this show, they had things like flat screen TVs, which we now have, jetpacks, which we now have, robot assistants, which we now have, and flying cars. So I'm going to sing for you right now. Here's George Jetson. That's how the show started. And this is what the car looked like. So here's George Jetson and all his, the boy, is it Elroy, I think? And that's his red car. Well, I'm here to tell you that the future is now. Yes, there are companies that are making flying cars, and they're going to be used as a flying taxi. Okay, now they don't look like the fancy schmancy George Jetson car. Here's what they look like. They're still pretty fancy schmancy, and they're called EVTOLs, EVTOL. Okay, the EVTOL industry. EVTOL stands for electric vertical takeoff and landing. Okay, so they don't need a runway like that. They just go boo like that. So very, very cool. So in this video, what I'm going to share with you is the developments in this industry, because this is happening pretty soon, within a couple of years, as you'll find out. Also, it said in one of the articles that the price to go from an airport to, say, a downtown hotel is going to be about the same price as an Uber. And that got my mind thinking, I wonder if there's some people out there that would like to learn about this and would consider becoming a driver or a flyer for an air taxi as opposed to driving for Uber. So I'm going to address some of the pros and cons of that idea. And stick around, because at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you whether I would choose to become a pilot, I guess you'd call us, of the flying taxis. So all that and a lot more coming up. Hey everybody, it's Jay Crater with the RideShare Guy. Drinking my protein coffee drink. Still doing that. If any of you had been watching my personal YouTube channel, where I've been doing a weekly ice bath for 20 weeks in a row, I wanted to tell you why you haven't seen any videos lately. Well, I got pretty sick for about a month, and then I also joined a new health club. And the new health club has a cold plunge. So instead of doing a once a week thing out there in my backyard, I'm just doing my 20 minutes in the sauna, and then I go and I get into this freezing water, which is way colder than what it was here, down to 40 degrees, and I sit in it for 3 minutes. And I do that Monday through Friday. So I'm still getting 15 minutes of ice bath, but it's broken out over the week. So I'm finding this to be far superior, a lot easier, and that's why you haven't been seeing any ice bath videos, and you probably won't anymore. I took the ice bath outside down and retired it. So I just wanted to give you that update. Okay, so by way of background, the way these EVTOLs are going to work is, let's say I just flew in from Bangkok and I landed in San Francisco. Instead of going out and getting an Uber, I can go to wherever the Joby Aviation takeoff spot is and get in my vehicle with some other people, I'm sure, and we're going to go, and then within 10 minutes or so, I'm going to be landing on top of a hotel roof, let's say. I'm going to be able to watch a beautiful sunset, no traffic, seeing the view close up, and boom. Super cool, really convenient. I can see how this is going to be a very popular thing, very attractive thing. All right. So what you're seeing now is some information on this. The growing electric air taxi market is expected to be a $57 billion industry by 2035. So that's in 12 years. Startups are racing to build the first certified, EVTOL, thanks to investments from airlines like United and Delta. Okay, so they got some big players getting into the market. Joby Aviation recently got the green light to start flight testing its 5-seater EVTOL. And just again, let me show you what that looks like. Okay, that's the one right there. Okay, so what else can I tell you? So the next thing I'm going to tell you is the FAA has said It does not expect the first eVTOL to begin commercial operations until late 2024 or early 2025. That's less than 2 years from now. Last year, the FAA issued the airworthiness criteria that air taxi startup Joby Aviation must meet for its model aircraft to be certified for use. Okay, so they have established their criteria, so that means they just have to meet that. Now, look at this. This is the article I was referring to. U.S. startup Joby is building an electric aircraft it wants to use to fly people between airports and cities for the price of an Uber. Take a look, and there you can see the vehicle, and there it is, landed, okay? And fourth and finally, that got me thinking, since Uber has gotten into every aspect of travel that it can, with the exception of starting its own airline, and they see that this is going to eat into their business a little bit, doesn't it make sense that Uber will start to make these vehicles as well and get into the industry? I bet they do. And when they do, they're going to need pilots. So for the rest of the video, we're going to look at what are the pros and cons of becoming a pilot for one of these air taxis. So number one, harder than a car, but easier than an airplane. So not everybody's going to be able to just, start flying these things around, right? And that's good news, I say, because if you're really committed, you're going to go through whatever the training is to learn how to do it. So I think this is a positive development. And it's not as hard as an airplane, right? You're not going to be flying a 767 from San Francisco to New York, but it's somewhere in between. And like if you want to drive a truck, you got to go to a training program, you got to get certified, and then you can do it. And I'm sure there are going to be schools like that for the eVTOL market. So number two, you will need substantial training, okay? Because as you can see here, this article, it says U.S. proposes training pilot certification rules for air taxis. So at this point, it hasn't been decided exactly what kind of training you're going to need, but it is going to be substantial. So you're going to have to make a commitment to do this. This isn't something, it's not like a gig job, even though you might be doing it for Uber. You're going to be kind of on call. You're going to be needed at specific times. You're going to have a schedule to follow. And I doubt you're going to be an independent contractor. You're probably going to be an employee, all of which is going to take a lot of training to learn, all these things. You're going to have to learn about the weather. And I took some pilot training when I was going to college. And there's a lot more to consider than just, driving your car in the rain. All right. Number three, compensation unknown. How much will these pilots make? Well, I'm guessing in the beginning there aren't going to be a lot of them, and the demand for this thing will be pretty high. So I would expect the compensation at the beginning will be quite substantial. And then as more and more people learn how to fly these things and become certified, the pay will come down. And number four, this thing is happening in less than 2 years. So this is a good thing. This means if you want to do this, you should jump on it now. Scheduled to enter in 2025, the eVTOL from startup Joby Aviation is considered the most promising in the urban air mobility market, according to the AAM Reality Index. Okay. The ranking, which analyzes various aspects of the development of electric aircraft, is updated monthly by a company and gives Joby a score of 8.7 out of a possible 10, okay? So what that means is it's happening. And we're already towards the end of 2023, and this thing's gonna happen in 2025. So that's exciting, and I would say that's a positive if you're considering becoming a pilot. And number five, this is a con. You gotta be aware of what happened to airline pilots. So in the beginning, airline pilots, it was one of the most revered jobs that you could have, and they were paid very, very well relative to other professions. And then everyone was a pilot. There were just a ton of pilots. And now they're just sort of like glorified bus drivers. And the pay isn't at all close to where it was, say 40 years ago. So that's something to consider. Although I think for the first at least 5 years, this is just going to be an amazing opportunity because it's going to be new, it's going to be fresh, and it's going to be a growth. I would think every airport is going to want to offer this as a service. People will pay more for this, I think, than they will for an Uber, even though the article says it'll be the same price. I find that hard to believe. But I would pay double, right? For that kind of convenience, that kind of a view, that kind of an experience. Absolutely. But as it gets saturated, as we've seen recently with Uber drivers, more drivers, that brings the pay down. As there are more pilots, that's going to bring the pay down. But I think starting out, it's going to be pretty sweet. Number 6, the excitement of being at the forefront of something new. This is a pro. This is really fun. This is how I felt in 2016 when I was driving for Uber and Lyft. I felt like there weren't that many people doing it. There was a lot of demand. I could just drive all day and keep picking people up. There just weren't that many drivers on the road. And that's pretty cool. So that's something that I think is a positive, is a pro. So what are the key takeaways here? Well, given my age and given I have some other pretty interesting things going on in my life, this is not something I would choose to pursue. But if I were 40 or 30, and I had my Uber and Lyft experience and experienced kind of the joy of conversing with passengers, and I love the scenery that I see, and it's a simple job. We move people from A to B. I would seriously consider it. Now, I'm 6'4". I don't know if that would be a problem because those vehicles don't look so big. So there might be like a height and weight requirements. But I would probably, I'd have to do a little more investigating and find out what the cost would be to get certified, to learn how to fly and all of that. But it would definitely be something I would consider. What about you? Is it something you would consider, right? If it is, you should start digging into it right now because, like I said, in less than 2 years, some airports, especially if you live near a big city, your airport is probably going to have this available. So jump on it. So I hope bringing you this information might have, opened up some possibilities for you. Something that you could do that would be really satisfying, pay way better than what Uber pays, I think. And yeah, pretty cool. Flying. It's George Jetson. It's George Jetson, man. All over again. The future is now. All right, so that's all I got for you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, subscribe. We'll bring you everything fresh, new, hot, happening in the gig economy. All right. Go tell someone you love them. Be safe out there on the road. Take care. See you next time. Bye for now.